Welcome to another episode of the Last of the Action Heroes podcast. I am your host, Ryan. With me today, returning guest host of the Last of the Action Heroes podcast is Jared from the Hyperspace Podcasting in the 25th Century. Did I get that title right?
Yes, it's quite a mouthful, but you did. It's the Hyperspace Podcasting in the 25th Century.
Is that how you're supposed to read it when you read it on on your iPhone or on the interwebs? You're supposed to read it in that voice.
You can use that inflection. I always say podcasting. I don't know why I say it like that, but that's what I do.
I love it. I love it.
Or we just shorten it to the Hyperspace usually.
Okay.
So.
And that's kind of what I do. The Hyperspace podcast. Yes, it's you guys do a great job, great coverage. Jared, you are an incredible guest host. I love having you on. You've guest hosted on It's a Long Road, the Rambo series podcast. You did a great job there, and loved having you on. And you and I did a Burt Reynolds film a few months back called Heat. Do you recall?
Yes. Oh, I recall Heat very well. It occurs to me, Ryan, right now at this very moment, we are probably the only people podcasting about Malone on the planet, if you want to think about it like that. So, this is an exclusive club we're in right now.
I want to give a hot take right away. You and I enjoyed Heat immensely. We watched it. We had a great time podcasting about it. We actually had a legit blast. Remember that? And we said, because we had so much fun, let's just see if Mr. Burt Reynolds can throw us another home run. By golly gee, I freaking love this film.
If you would have changed the character's name, this could have been a sequel to Heat. You know what I'm saying? There's really nothing in this movie that kind of separates what was in Heat, because this was his next movie, right? Chronologically, I think he did Heat the year before.
Close. I think it was back to back. Is that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah. And I can see now something I never noticed as a youngster.
Sure.
Burt Reynolds, he's a brand. And if you go see a Burt Reynolds movie, you probably know exactly what you're in for.
Well, now I do. I do. If I was a Reynolds fan back in the day, and I wasn't, I think there was a couple of things that I would say turned me off of the idea of Burt Reynolds. He's even older, of course, than my action hero, Sly and Arnold. He's older than them. Of course, he's dead now. But
yes.
But he really is not making movies anymore. Like, it's over. I'm telling you right now, I think Burt Reynolds' career is officially over. I think it's done. But that being said, he's a little bit older, so I think I saw him as my dad's. This is my dad's action guy, and so that was a bit of a turnoff. When you're a kid or a teenager, I don't want to watch that old fuddy-duddy of a guy. But now that I'm 46, watching these films back and putting myself, that's what it's, I'm putting myself back in the day. Had I watched this when I was an older adult or whatever, I can see why Burt was a popular guy.
Sure. I mean, like you said, he's our dad's action hero. We always like to kind of see ourselves in these larger-than-life people. It's kind of the reason that I like Harrison Ford so much, because, he's 80 years old and he has an Indiana Jones movie coming out next year.
Yeah.
And that gives a person like me hope that when I'm 80, I can do that.
We'll be podcasting probably then, maybe still.
Well, hopefully. But yeah, Burt Reynolds, I've said before, I didn't really have a connection to him past like Smokey and the Bandit when I was a kid, because that went along with the whole car, Dukes of Hazzard type thing. I can see why Burt had an appeal. But as we've also said before, this was kind of the downslope of his movie career. He would have a resurgence later in television, and then, like Boogie Nights very late in his career. But this was his Stallone direct-to-video period.
It was just getting there, but this was released in the theaters. But yes, it was starting to kind of, his star was fading, or his box office draw was fizzling. And that's kind of how I knew Burt, was either really early, the Smokey and the Bandit films, or ironically watched him later in life. Burt Reynolds is in Boogie Nights, or he was the hockey coach, or the He was the judge in Mystery Alaska. I saw him in that. I also saw him in Driven with Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was in that.
Yeah, and then he had a guest appearance in The Longest Yard with the remake with Adam Sandler. He was also in Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah, so there was these type of movies, like I kind of ironically watched him. He was out of his prime. Like he was guest appearing, or he's doing a serious role, something out of his wheelhouse, or he's revisiting older roles. And it's kind of like a wink at the camera type roles. Mm-hmm. I didn't know him as the Burt of the 80s and earlier. I think Malone might have been kind of that. Yeah, it's unfortunate. This was kind of his last type of action film. The movie right after he did Rent-A-Cop.
Oh, man.
That might be one worth watching because that's got Liza Minnelli in it.
Oh, my goodness. Well, sure, yeah.
We're not done yet. You and I might be the Burt torch carriers. I'm sorry.
Listen, that's fine. I will do that for Burt because I can't imagine there's a whole lot of people podcasting about these movies out there right now. So, yeah, let's run with this.
Okay. Well, Malone came out. Well, of course, everybody knows. I'm not really saying anything that the fans of Burt don't know. Like, let's be honest here. So, Malone came out in 1987. It's a 1987 American action thriller. It stars a cast of characters, a few of them which I actually did recognize. It was based on a novel written by William P. Wingate called Shotgun.
Yes, I read that in the on the Wikipedia page, actually.
Now, did you ever get a chance to read Shotgun before we started?
No, I did not read Shotgun.
Okay.
But, Ryan, are you seeing some parallels here with Malone and somebody else that you may like?
Stallone?
Not just that, but the character of Rambo.
Do tell.
This is based on a book, this movie.
Right.
And this movie does share some plot points, I think you could say, with Rambo. Vietnam vet,
right,
comes into a small town. He actually, Burt says, he wasn't trying to do what Stallone did in First Blood. He actually named
First Blood. Yeah, he actually brought that up. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, they're very two different films, but it does share a little DNA in that way.
Yeah, they are different films for sure, which I love. And I want to make this clear: we're gonna take the mick out of this film a little bit as we go through some of the scenes and what have you, the plot points. But I'm not joking. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a great time watching the film. And if a film is designed to entertain you, then this film entertained me. We know what it is, but that's fine. There are movies that kind of know what they are, but they don't do a good job still, even then, making you have a good time. This film was easily digestible and watchable. In fact, I loved it.
Yeah, I'm not saying I loved it, but I did watch it twice, and like Heat, I thought it was an agreeable time passer.
I think I'm saying I loved it a little bit ironically, but
ironically,
yeah, but I still loved. Put this way, again, talking about Stallone, I do a podcast with Craig and Doug where we cover Stallone films that aren't Rambo or Rocky. And there have been a lot of films of his that I've watched where I'm not having fun, even ironically. Like, it's just like speaking of Driven with Burt Reynolds, it's a horrible film. It's actually hard to get through.
I think I saw that in theaters, but I don't remember much.
I should have, because I was, a big mark back then. Oh, I still am, but 2001, I definitely probably still saw it in theaters. Yeah, okay, here we go. The opening film, or moments in the film, is a plane flying over, beautiful area of... Where was this plane flying over? I can't remember now. Was it...
I think it's Oregon.
Oregon. Let's turn down the volume. So the plane is flying over. At this time, we don't know what's going on or who's in the plane or what's happening. We will say that Richard Malone is played by Burt Reynolds. For the purposes of this podcast, I think we'll just refer to the character Richard Malone as Burt Reynolds. I think that might just be easier for our...
Yes.
Speaking of Rambo, we can say Rambo and interchange it with Sly, and people will track it. But I think if we switch Burt and Richard, people might not track as easily.
Exactly.
Okay, all right. So Burt Reynolds plays a covert CIA operative, and he specializes in assassinations. Now, is this a job you can apply for, I guess, in the CIA?
I guess it is. I guess they took note of his Army record and maybe recruited him to do this.
Now, this takes place in 1987. At least we can assume that's when the events take place. It kind of ties up. We are reinvestigating the idea of a Vietnam vet, but unlike Rambo, Burt Reynolds was able to get a job beyond parking cars. He was actually able to become an assassination guy for the CIA. That's a legit job. He climbed up in the ranks. That's probably not an easy job.
Well, yeah, I'm sure about that. But I don't know. When I look at this scene here, he doesn't seem incredibly well hidden to me. They took that long shot of the tower that he's on or whatever, and it's just a guy standing there on a tower. He's not really trying to conceal himself.
It's a little bit weird. He's hiding up on a bell tower. So for our audience, for, of course, our listening audience, so we have the opening shot here of Burt. He's up on a big clock watchtower. The plane has landed in the harbor, and a bad guy. You can tell he's a bad guy because he's wearing a suit and has longer hair, and he's carrying a briefcase. Some sort of transaction's about to go down. We don't know right now. First time watches the film. Like I don't read actual Wikipedia or anything or IMDb before I see a film cold. I go in cold. I want the director and writer and the actors to show me the storyline.
Yep.
As if I just walked into the theater in 1987, didn't see a trailer, I'm just going to watch a Burt Reynolds film. Like, I want the story explained to me. At this point, I don't know who Burt is. I don't know that he is. Like, I think he's just a guy trying to shoot another guy. I don't know what his deal is. So he's going to snipe this guy. He has him dead to rights. Crosshairs are in this guy's head. Burt pulls away. He doesn't go for the kill.
No, he definitely has mixed feelings about it.
So he doesn't do the kill. So now he explains... Yeah, I'm going to go back. So he's talking to his, I guess his handler or his partner or handler, played by an actress named...
Lauren Hutton.
Lauren Hutton. Now, I do recognize the name. Do you know her from something in particular before you saw this film?
Oh, yes. I got stories here.
Well, tell me how you know Laura Hutton.
Okay. Without saying where I work, I work in television. And have had the occasion to work with Miss Hutton in the past.
Are you allowed to say which project?
I can tell you if you want to edit this out.
Yeah, tell me and I'll edit this out.
Okay. I work at...
That's right, you told me that before.
She came there. Okay. And so when I worked over the course of several years, actually, on and off with Miss Hutton, she's an interesting individual.
Oh, she's kind, sweet, and pleasant?
No, she was actually barred from talking to any of the crew because she would make people cry.
Were they crying with joy and ecstasy being around such a supermodel actress?
Quite the opposite, Ryan. Yeah, she was just not a very nice person. My boss threatened to call the police on her because she was smoking marijuana in her green room.
I mean, it is a green room.
Oh, it was a green room that day for sure. Now, I haven't worked with her in over 10 years, but, when I saw she was in this, I just was like, oh, man. It's hard when you've had personal experience with the person to kind of divorce them from what they're doing on screen. But
it's a good thing we know Burt's a pleasant guy, too, off screen, so we know that about him.
They are birds of a feather, then. I'm sure they got along famously.
Yeah, who knows? That's hilarious. Boy. Burt's telling Laura Hutton that he's going to hang up the sniping rifle. He doesn't want to do it anymore. He's tired of just killing bad people arbitrarily.
Yes.
Because I let that man live a couple of days longer?
That man is one of the worst bastards.
I don't care. I want out.
What are you going to tell the company?
Goodbye.
You know too much. One of the first things you taught me is that nobody just walks away.
Watch me.
She refers to the CIA as a company. Even at this point, Jared, I didn't know he worked for the CIA. Am I supposed to know the company is the CIA? Is that just...
I didn't know specifically it was the CIA, but I figured it was some sort of shadow government agency.
It's kind of a weird... I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's an interesting sequence of events. We have the who's starring in the film, the Malone comes up, and all this stuff, and then we have the sequence we just talked about the him not going to do that hit. And then it goes back to the credits again. So it's kind of like this mini cold open or a mid cold open. Now we've got Burt Reynolds traveling in his car to get away because it shows that he burns up his ID. Back in the 80s, when I guess you could going off the grid in the 80s was just burning your driver's license.
Yeah, I guess so. It would have been much easier back then. They wouldn't be able to track him with cell phones or anything like that.
Back then, going off the grid was easier. Like you could just hide and. Credit cards still weren't electronic so much, even maybe early, but so-and-so used their debit card in Wisconsin, that's where they are. Back then you swiped your credit card on paper, and remember those swiping machines with the paper?
Oh yeah. We see in this movie, they're using a teletype.
Yeah, another teletype. We've talked about teletype on the Long Road podcast. It's come up a few times. Did we talk about what a teletype was? Does that mean you as well? That was you and I.
Yes.
And I came back and told you exactly how it works.
Yes, you did. You explained it quite well.
Well, now people who are listening to the Malone podcast are like, please, Ryan, explain the teletype.
We must know what the teletype is.
Long story short, teletype is I'm typing on what's like a typewriter. It works like a typewriter, it looks like a typewriter, and when you see me typing with paper and everything, it operates like a typewriter. If somebody has that same typewriter model and everything in their place from Oregon to LA, their typewriter will act and mimic what my typewriter is doing as I type. So they're seeing my typing in real time. So it's like a text message onto a piece of paper, which isn't a bad way to go. You don't have to make a photocopy. It just comes off your other paper. It's actually not a bad little thing.
It was kind of a proto-fax technology, a fax machine, sort of.
Yeah, you basically saw, it'd be like if I sent you a text.
Yeah,
you're seeing me text in real time. You're seeing the letters as I'm texting them to you. It's like, oh, Ryan's sending me a text. He's saying, oh, hey, Jared, I really hate you. I mean, what I mean to say is, but you'd see all those things happen as they come out.
Yes.
You got to be very careful how you type, yeah. So, Burt Reynolds' car, we're assuming now time has passed. He's burnt his driver's license. He's quit the CIA. I guess you can't quit the CIA? I don't understand.
No, I guess... there's no retirement party or anything. You can't do it.
You have to run away.
You have to burn your ID and then go to a small rural town. That's the only way you can get away.
Now, don't be too silly, Jared. He wasn't going to this town. His car broke down. He had no choice but to bring his car to the closest town to get repaired.
That's true. That is true.
Had his car not broken down, he would have continued driving, and this film wouldn't exist.
That's true. Okay. You're right. Okay. Absolutely.
Let's stick to what happens in the film here. Okay. So his car breaks down, but apparently it was a Ford Mustang, by the way, '69 Ford Mustang, which is a very nice.
Yes. Car. Yeah, it's a really cool car.
I remember being a teenager back in, I graduated in '93 at the age of 17. So in '87 I would have been 12. But yeah, so 12-year-old Ryan, if you told me, hey, I got a '69 Mustang, I would say, oh man, what a beautiful old car. Like that's where your brain would go. But it's only 18 years old.
That's true. At that point, it is only 18 years old.
Is that weird to think? But we used to think back then, like a '67 Mustang, or I actually like a '67 Mustang a little bit better. We would think, oh, that's such an old car. Now, '87 to now is 35 years.
Yeah, I know. So a car in 1987 is decidedly less cool than a 1960s Mustang.
Are you saying things created and made in the 80s didn't age as well? How dare you? That includes this film, by the way.
That's true. Yeah, but I'm just saying my Dodge Dynasty, my 1987 Dodge Dynasty is not as cool as his '69 Mustang.
So now we get to the town that eventually Burt is going to push. He's pushing his car. I would recommend Burt maybe walking somewhere, grabbing somebody to get a tow truck or something. Granted, there was no cell phones back then. He's in rural Oregon right now. I would recommend, maybe going but he pushes his car for maybe, it could be miles.
Who knows how long he's pushing this thing?
We know no one's going to steal your car, Burt. It can't drive. So you're feel free to park it, lock it, and go for a walk and try to find a tow truck in some town.
No, he would rather just push it along. Okay. He's got to stay in shape.
That's fair. Now, we're introduced to a character who just said goodbye to somebody, I guess maybe moving out. Oh, yeah. Okay. We'll get to that. So looks like a family has just moved out of town. The truck was full of stuff and a bed mattress because in this town that Burt's about to go to, there's an individual that we'll meet later. His name is Charles Delaney. Now, Charles Delaney is some sort of, I guess, a white nationalist terrorist type person. Okay. And so what he's basically doing, this is a great plot point. So he's a white nationalist. And he is buying out this small town with, I guess, his inordinate amount of money. He's buying out this small town of homes and businesses, chasing them out of town. Well, he buys out their property and says, well, now you got to move because I bought your house or I bought your business. And he's using this town to become a, white nationalist headquarters to take over the states, I guess. Why don't we just say right now what is his goal and plot so we don't have to go back to it throughout the film here?
He's just buying up land, which are going to be like his bases of operation. We see later in the movie, he's been buying up property across the United States. You got to imagine these are going to be like his compounds that he has.
I love this, and we talked about this on one of my episodes. It wasn't you, but it was on the Last of the Action Heroes podcast where we talked about Invasion USA with Chuck Norris. there was a group of terrorists, of course, taking over the States, as we'd say. And I'm always amazed in film when you think of it literally, of what's really happening, how much it just doesn't work. And I know it's for the purpose of this world and this film, this is what's happening. But having a guy buying out a small town in Oregon and then manning it with, 200, maybe dare say 1,000, maybe even 5,000 terrorists, they still can't take over the States.
No. Like, it doesn't really work that way. Yeah. But so what's his end game? But I
exactly.
mean, for the purposes of the movie, I guess it's enough to move the plot forward.
Well, I guess we could argue that is the genesis, or not the genesis. That's how it all starts. This is the beginning of his terrorist group. Okay, so fair enough. Burt Reynolds stops that from happening. I don't mean to spoil anything, but
wait, what?
I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry. So we see this young lady waving goodbye to a family. She yells, "All right," and the truck pulls away. So we see a family leaving someone that she was friends with or cared for, because they say to each other they're going to write, of course, before the internet and texting and what have you. It was harder to say goodbye to people because nowadays, like my kids right now, they play games with their friends online every day and talk. They talk for hours a day, and they haven't seen each other in 2 years. We're in the military, we move around. They're still friends. It's the new world we live in now. Like, they just communicate every day.
Sure thing, yeah.
It's just like, I'll see you online tomorrow.
Yeah. I got the impression this might have been like a boyfriend or something she was saying goodbye to.
So we're talking about Cynthia Gibb. Now, she seems somewhat familiar to me. She has been in some other things. Okay, well, there's a lot to talk about with Cynthia Gibb. She plays a character named Joe, and we can call her Joe throughout the film because I'm sure most of our Malone lists. Well, I know Malone fans know who she is, but anyone that might not know Malone the film, Cynthia Gibb plays a character named Joe. Did you not get a little bit of a crush on her?
No, she's definitely cute. Kept wondering where I'd seen her before, and she looked familiar, but I'm looking at her filmography, and nothing's jumping out.
There was one film that I did see a lot when I was younger, and it was a few films after this one, and it might have been where my brain was like, "You've seen her before, Ryan," but I couldn't place her. She starred along with Jean-Claude Van Damme, the 1990 film Death Warrant.
Yes, I see Death Warrant popped up there.
Fortunately, Death Warrant didn't really, catapult her to stardom that maybe she would hope. She did win a lot of awards, though. She was nominated for a Golden Globe for her 1993 performance, though, in the show Gypsy. So she did kind of peak in a TV movie called Gypsy, as far as TV land goes. And she got a lot of TV guest spots. So in the film, we're never told her age. You understand that, right? We were never told her age. Okay? It's ambiguous.
Yes.
Now, Cynthia Gibb, in real life, she is 23.
Okay, I would place her late teens.
She is 23, so the actress herself is 23, but her character, now this is important that we say this, her character is 17.
You could get that from, she says, your car is older than me.
Her character is 17 in the film. Burt Reynolds, the actor, is 51 in this film. You see where I'm going with this?
Oh, yeah, okay. And I know what you're talking about.
But his character is 48.
Yes.
So no, it doesn't matter how you slice it. 48, 51.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I mean, that's basically like me and you.
I'm 46.
I'm 47.
Okay.
So
can you imagine saying or acting in any way, shape, or form as the Malone character in this film with a 17-year-old girl at any point at all?
No.
Okay.
My daughter is 15. For God's sake.
Well, that's too young. We're talking about a 17-year-old here. Okay,
yeah, you're right. You're right. It's really weird, and we will talk about that scene when it comes up.
It's funny that I talk about, we just, on our Rocky podcast, One More Round, we talk about the date scene, the infamous date scene between Rocky and Adrian, where Rocky, he puts his arms on the door and says, don't go, because he wants to convince Adrian to have coitus. Long story short, it ages poorly, but we know the character of Rocky. We know that he's not really trapping her. She's not really trapped. We know that it was consensual, but it just doesn't age well. We talked about that ad nauseum on that episode. Check it out.
I listened to that yesterday on Patreon.
Yes, right. Patreon's getting their early release. If I get it edited early enough, I try to give it to my Patreons.
I loved it. Okay. I thought it was great. That's the episode you read my email on.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's of course it gets high marks from me.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
But I did notice how you stepped down and said, "Okay, this does not. We just have to get this out. This scene does not age well. This would not be done this way in 2022." But it was interesting.
Thank you. Yeah. So this movie, now this doesn't age well at all, period. But I don't know if they ever intended it not to age well.
Yeah.
So here she is. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see what we're looking at. You can look at the cute Cynthia Gibb. Look, I'm telling you, she's adorable. She looks. You know who she looks like? She looks like Emma Watson from Hermione from the Harry Potter film.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Isn't that weird?
100%.
She looks like Hermione. Insane. So if you
that might actually be what's clicking in my head when I see her.
It's uncanny.
Yeah.
So if anyone's watching this on YouTube, recommend take a look at YouTube because I'm going to post this on YouTube. Take a look at Cynthia Gibb, and she is a spitting image of Emma Watson. It's uncanny. So we got a scene here of now Burt Reynolds is pushing his car to town. Hermione, I'm sorry, I did that on purpose. Cynthia Gibb, or Joe, comes up to help him out, and this is their first meeting. You push and I'll steer, which I think right away is kind of innuendo right away. You push and I steer.
Man, just look at that magnificent head of hair on Burt there.
He's gorgeous.
Great car. What year?
69.
Of course, I love his great car. What year? Of course, it's 69. I mean, this whole scene, you push and I'll steer.
Yeah, it's just packed with innuendo.
So keep in mind, guys, he's 48. She's 17. This is their first meeting, so she's steering the vehicle as Burt pushes the vehicle from behind.
Me.
So the car is older than me. Yes, the car is, we worked this out, it's 87. Yeah, so the car is older than her by a year. It's older than her by a year. And then he makes a joke, I have clothes or shirts or socks.
I've got socks older than you.
Socks older than you.
Now, what's that look for? Now, does she find the joke funny or sexual? I don't understand. She looks over her shoulder, listeners. She looks over her shoulder and she grins, but it's almost like, oh, that's a hot joke, buddy.
It's kind of seductive.
Yeah.
It's a very weird vibe here with these two.
It continues.
Oh, it does.
Look at that smile she has. Okay, all right. Now, to be fair to Burt didn't really, he answered the questions truthfully. He made a little bit of a joke. He's in an embarrassing situation. His car broke down. He's pushing it to the local gas station, which happens to be owned and operated by Joe's father, played by the great Scott Wilson. Now, Scott Wilson was one of the main characters in the early seasons of The Walking Dead.
Yep.
He, in this film, the actor, is 45.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I know. And I know we know him as the older Herschel in The Walking Dead, and we kind of like, it's hard to retroact older actors to a younger self, but he just looks and acts older in this film. He has a limp, mind you. He has a cane that he walks around with because of an injury, but he's 45 to his 17-year-old daughter, which is a fair age, so he had her at 28. But that being said, yeah, he acts older than Burt in some ways. Like, I think we're led to believe that he's like a mentor type figure to Burt's character. But Burt is 48, so he's 3 years older than Joe's father. Right now, all the ages do kind of make sense, though. Burt Reynolds, Malone is a Vietnam vet. It's about the right age. He's a CIA operative. You know, he's in his late 40s, almost 50. Everything kind of makes sense. They push the car to the garage.
It's funny that Scott Wilson's character, if you remember from The Walking Dead, he walked with a limp because he got part of his leg cut off, and here he walks with that same sort of limp.
Does he have a leg injury in real life?
I don't think so. It's just an interesting character beat. That's something that recurs with him, it seems like. He was in Judge Dredd, Stallone's Judge Dredd.
Oh, nice. We'll be revisiting Scott Wilson again. And he's actually in one of my favorite films of all time called Young Guns 2. He plays a character in that film as well.
Really?
Governor Lou Boggs, I believe he plays.
Okay.
Yeah, he did a great job then. And that's where I actually knew him from because I watched that movie 1,000 times as a youth. Then he did The Walking Dead, of course, and now we get to watch him in this film. Great actor. He did a great job in this film. Actually, nobody really dialed it in. This is actually that's what I mean by this film. It's hokey, it's silly, and uncomfortable as some scenes are. I don't think anyone really truly dialed. I mean, Burt never dials anything. He's just Burt Reynolds. But
sure,
when you get Burt, you get Burt. I think that's just who he is.
Burt had reached that point in his career where he's playing himself, basically.
So we have this character come in. His name is Madrid.
Yes, Madrid.
And he's like the number one lackey of Charles, who is buying everyone out of the town. So he's coming into the gas station to get some gas. He tells Joe to do his front window, clean it up. He's now saying to Herschel, the man's offering you more.
We'll just call him Herschel.
Sure. I would assume there's probably more people who have seen The Walking Dead than Malone.
Absolutely.
So 45-year-old Herschel has been told by Madrid, hey, the guy, Charles, the mean boss of this movie, he's offering you 10 times the value of your property.
More than 10 times what this place is worth.
I'm just stubborn, I guess.
Stubborn and ignorant. Mr. Delaney's a patient man, but I wouldn't push him too far.
So there you go. We get there a little bit of a foreshadow. Delaney's a patient man, but I wouldn't push him too far.
Yeah. And this Madrid guy, he just looks like a bad guy. He has the look.
Well, I love how his name is Madrid, and he looks like he might be from Madrid. It'd be like calling me, hey, Canada. Burt Reynolds, sees that interaction, right? He notes it. He's like, oh, this town isn't, there's something going on here,
Yeah.
He's already got a vested interest in this little town.
The wheels are turning already for Burt.
Now they're driving through town, and we get a little bit of exposition here from Joe. So Joe's driving the Jeep from the garage, driving Burt around town, explaining, hey, this is the town, that people have been moved out. There's odd characters walking around, people in business suits and stuff. And so the town, it doesn't appear to it isn't what it should be, a small town. It's kind of half and half. Half of the people have left, half haven't. And the people that are moving in aren't locals. You can tell because they're in business suits. They look kind of like mafia type.
Yeah. It's interesting that they sort of take Malone in very quickly. It's like, hey, why don't you just stay in our house? What?
It is odd to take this completely, and they have dinner together. I guess this is the first night they've welcomed this complete stranger into their home. The car has a transmission problem, so it's going to take some time for the parts to come into this small town. So it's going to take a few days. They've invited, why not just stay at our house free, room and board? We'll get a nice little guest room for you because it's a garage that has a house right next to it. Here's the dinner conversation.
Personally, I'd rather have hamburgers and french fries like normal people.
He seems to like it.
They're eating Asian food.
There's a lot of prep work to do on your car before the parts get here. I had some help.
I'll do it myself.
Well, I wouldn't charge you for working on your own car.
I appreciate that.
I've been thinking about you sleeping in your Mustang. We have a spare room here. Why don't you use it?
Okay.
Oh, man.
Do you want to explain to our audience what just happened? So Herschel has just offered, hey, Malone, why don't you just stay in our spare room? I don't want you to sleep in your car.
And then young 17-year-old Joe looks across the table with these come-hither eyes like, yeah, why don't you do that, Malone?
He looks at her, too. He looks at her like, boy, she's going to be a real temptation. And she looks at him like, I want to be your temptation.
Oh, man. Yeah, I didn't really pick up on that before, but it's...
Oh, it's there.
It's pretty glaring obvious, yeah.
So he takes the offer. He goes, yeah, good idea. Now, Joe later on in the film goes through his room trying to find some sort of clue of who this stranger might be. So he's set up in his room, and because Malone's working on the car in the garage with the dad. And she later finds, of course, his stuff of a gun, some ID or whatever, and a couple books. Did you notice the books that she pulled out? They're real books, by the way.
Dispatches.
Yeah, Dispatches is about the Vietnam War. And it's written by some general, whatever, leader in the Vietnam War. So that's one thing. So it shows his Vietnam past. So I guess he likes to carry a book around about his time in the war. He was reading about me. He could be in the book, for all we know. He could be part of the story.
Sure.
In fact, I'm going to make that claim right now for all the Malone fans listening. I'm going to do a hot take. Malone's character is in that book. He's one of the stories in that true life storybook. And then the other book is called Play Poker, Quit Work, and Sleep Till Noon, or The Complete Psychology, Mathematics, and Tactics of Winning Poker by John Fox, which is also a real book.
Oh, wow.
So I think what we're supposed to learn from this book is, yes, it's about playing poker, but it's almost like another way of how to win friends and influence people. It's to show you that Malone is a or Burt Reynolds' character, which I think Malone is fair. I think people should know Malone is the title of this episode.
Yes.
The title character of the film, played by Burt Reynolds. Malone is a smart guy, too. You know, he knows how to talk. He's a smooth guy. He's a Vietnam vet who knows his way around a conversation. And then she finds a gun. And then she takes the gun out of the bag, and it stresses me out because she points the gun at her face.
Yes.
Well, that was very stressful for me.
Man, she just has no chill whatsoever. She's just going through this stuff.
She finds this gun. It's like, yeah, it's beautiful. Wow, it's a gun. But I think she's turned on by it. She finds it amazing. And then she holds the gun, and then she there you go. Look down the barrel. That's a good idea.
Oh, boy.
That stressed me out. I don't know why.
It's very strange.
For all she knows, it's loaded with a round could be in the chamber, for all we know.
Yeah.
So she gets caught by Malone that she looked through his room, but he doesn't seem to be too nonplussed by it.
No, it's almost like he expected it to happen.
Now, this scene here, Joe asks the father, is he going to be here for a while?
Dad, how long is this going to take to fix?
Parts get here, a couple of days.
And then he goes?
Yeah, I guess so.
Good.
It seems like, and maybe rightfully so, she might think this guy's a dangerous guy. Because he has a gun, it's in the house. You know, you think if she really was concerned, she might want to tell her dad, hey, just so you know, the guy has a gun under his bed. But she doesn't. So she's concerned enough that she wants him to leave after a few days, but not concerned enough to tell her father that he could be a dangerous man.
Correct. Because she still may have the opportunity to bang him. She doesn't want to ruin that opportunity straight off the bat there.
Now, I'm not going to say girls like dangerous men, but come on. This is getting a little silly. We're led to believe she's concerned about him, okay? But she doesn't tell the dad. Okay, fair enough. But that is the only time in this film that she expresses any kind of real concern with him.
I think you're right. I mean, she's freaked out a little bit by the gun, but then after that, it's like, okay.
Okay, so there's a sequence here of where this guy comes in town and says, it's one of the locals, and he doesn't want to sell either. He doesn't want to sell his property, whatever. And him and Herschel are talking about this and how frustrating it is that these people are coming in and buying everyone out. And he came in on his bike, by the way. I like how he drove in on his bike. We have Burt Reynolds in the garage working on the car with Herschel while this conversation is taking place. So they have a conversation, Herschel and this gentleman, and all this scene is setting up here. We've got the guy who doesn't want to sell, right? So keep that in mind. This older gentleman doesn't want to sell, but he's on a bike, and he's going to bike back to his property, I guess. Had a conversation with Herschel, which could have just probably happened over a phone call, but that wouldn't work with the film. You got to have it.
Sure.
We have what's going to be a car accident will occur here. This is to let people know that if you don't sell your land, accidents might happen to you.
Real transport.
Okay, so these two brothers that we see here, their names are Calvin and Dan Bullard. They work for Charles Delaney, the guy who's buying up all the land. They had a correlated car accident with another guy, played by Madrid, of course, that they're going to swerve and miss each other or whatever. And they hit the guy on the bike head on. Incredible sequence. I can't say enough. I encourage everyone to go watch this on our YouTube link that will be in the show notes, because you'll get to see this scene. If you don't want to watch the movie, watching us watch it, I think, is really the key here. But anyways, it's just me. So this guy hits the windshield, and it's a great stunt. Then we have this scream by Joe, who saw the accident. Kind of like a horror film type scream that she had. It didn't seem like a horror film.
Yes. It's very oddly constructed. Everything's slow motion, and it's like, no! That kind of stuff.
But I love how both the brothers were in the car. They had to both be in the car to hit the guy. But I guess it just makes it more... Now, the sheriff that comes in to investigate the crime, he's played by a fellow named Kenneth McMillan, who died just 2 years after this film was filmed. This was one of his last films that he did.
The sheriff?
Yeah, the sheriff died.
Okay.
We got a couple dead people from this film. Burt Reynolds, this actor here, of course, playing the sheriff. Again, his name is Kenneth McMillan. He looked like somebody I kind of recognized. Did he look like someone you recognized?
I thought this was Charles Durning, who is another actor. It's not him, but when I first watched the movie, I had to look him up. I thought, is Charles Durning in this? but it's not him.
This was his second to last film. His last film was Three Fugitives in 1989.
Oh, wow. I remember that movie.
He played Baron Vladimir Harkonnen in the 1984 version of Dune.
Oh, that's right. He was the guy who was floating around. And
yes.
Okay.
He's talking to Hermione here. She's not afraid to tell the truth. She says, look, this wasn't an accident. This was a hit. And the sheriff, now we're getting the idea that the sheriff is kind of in on the take here. He doesn't quite believe the teenage girl because she's a teenage girl. Of course, Malone has seen the accident. He knows something fishy's going on. So, the plot thickens, as they say. I wouldn't say he's corrupt so much as he's in the pocket of Delaney because he recognizes that the brothers who hit the guy on his bike work for Delaney, but at the same time, I admit you can't just prove right now it wasn't an accident because that's why the other car was there. They had to swerve. At the very least, there should be some sort of charge or investigation of reckless driving that caused injury or death, but there isn't any.
Of course not.
Burt is about to meet the sheriff.
Hey, you.
So the sheriff's calling him. Hey, you.
I want to talk to you.
I want to talk to you. Come over because he's a new face in town. So the sheriff doesn't know who this guy is.
Yes. Hey, you.
I'm Sheriff Hawkins. I don't believe we met.
We haven't.
What's your name?
Malone.
Are you the fellow with the car trouble?
That counts as big news around here, huh?
What's your story about this?
Not much. I was working on that tractor over there. I heard Joe scream. When I turned around, it was over.
That's all you saw?
That's all.
Real smart.
What a strange interaction.
It is weird because Malone's actually saying what maybe the sheriff would want to hear, but he seems angry by it. And I'm a little confused by that because he's saying that's all I saw. I barely saw the accident. I don't really have much to give you. So in theory, he's actually helping the cover-up. And the sheriff's like, real smart. Would you rather I say I kind of agree with Joe that it's probably a hit, you guys are corrupt? Or was he being serious by saying real smart? Like he looked like it was real smart because right now Malone's playing low and he doesn't want to draw attention to himself.
Exactly.
But the sheriff is acting like, how dare you play it smart, real smart?
He's saying it one thing, but his body language and delivery suggests something else. Yeah, real smart. Well, what do you want me to say?
Yeah, it's odd.
What?
And of course, Joe's a little bit mad at Malone. That how come you didn't tell the truth?
Yeah.
You know more than you're letting on as well. The funeral happens for the poor guy that got hit on his bike, and of course, sort of more people live in the town are like, feeling the heat, feeling the pinch. They got to get out of the situation.
Oh, this guy. This scene was...
Okay, so we have one of Charles Delaney's henchmen coming up to... Who's this guy?
The guy that he's about to shoot?
You're right.
Well, he's the leader of some, I think, a local church organization.
Okay.
But he also happens to be a black man.
Oh, that's right. I forgot these guys are white nationalists.
Yes. So that's one of the reasons he meets his grisly end here.
But I love how the killer brings... Why the briefcase? You could just literally carry that weapon in your pocket. Or whatever.
But that's just how, like we said at the beginning of the show, the bad guys always carry a briefcase.
He's a reverend. That's right. Reverend Denby. So he's religious and black. That's a bad combination when you're white supremacist.
Yeah.
He feels you and your organization are making a genuine change in this great country of ours.
Well, we tried.
And he wishes to make a substantial contribution to your cause.
No.
It's a big first real violent scene here, other than, of course, the old man getting run over by his bike. Or on his bike. Two gunshots. Again, this is odd to me. This reverend is working in some sort of office. You think they could have just offed him in his house, walking from his house to his car, but they actually shooting him where he works, I guess, because you have a complete stranger walking down the hallways and stuff, shoots you in your office and has to walk out. I think that would lead more witnesses, but I would rather just shoot you in your driveway. Maybe it might be less witnesses. I don't want anyone to take notes here, but.
Yeah, that's true. He does walk into a very crowded space and goes to this guy's office and does it. Oh, boy. Here we go.
For our listeners, we're going to play this scene. I think I'm almost want to just focus on the Joe Malone love story. This is, I guess, the second night. Joe comes out. She's wearing a bathrobe. In theory, it's less form-fitting and it's thicker than maybe a jeans and t-shirt that she was wearing before. But it seems to be more inappropriate, I think, because underneath, you would assume she's probably naked. She just got out of the shower. Just pulling that one little piece of string there, and the bathrobe will fall off.
Well, is she wearing like pajama bottoms on?
She's nude underneath. Wait, here's the thing: we're all nude under our clothing, but there's just something about a bathrobe that insinuates I was just naked.
Sure.
Yeah, because if you wear your clothes throughout the day, I'm assuming, well, you've been wearing those for hours. But when you see a bathrobe, there's the part of your brain that goes, I was just naked. It was just moments before this moment that I was lathered up in soap and water, Mr. Malone, and I was naked, but now I'm coming out to visit you on the... Why else the bathrobe? And look at her eyes. She's so happy to meet him alone at night. Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
I couldn't sleep. Keep having bad dreams.
About what?
I don't know. Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Are you a criminal?
Oh, so this is where she wants to make sure that he's not a bad guy.
When did you find my gun?
When did you find my gun, he asks. When you caught me in the room. But look at her face. She's so happy.
I'm sure you could find some people who think so. What do you think?
What do you think?
No.
Oh, look at that smile.
Like, no.
Good, he says. Good. You don't think I'm a bad guy.
What?
What's that musical score? Like, that's a musical score of, like...
I have to make note of the score in this movie. It is this big, kind of lush, full-sounding score that doesn't really fit the movie at points.
Good night, she says.
Good night.
Good night. So she can go to bed. I think her bad dreams are going to end tonight. I don't know what kind of dreams she's going to have after that visit. So now we cut to this really white supremacist meeting. What I love about Malone is we get a behind the scenes what a white supremacist meeting would be like. I mean, I've never attended one. Just for the record, I want to make that clear, Jared. I don't want to. I mean, I've never attended a white nationalist meeting, but if you were to attend one, this is what it would be like.
Yeah. Well, see, Ryan, this is how we do it in America.
Oh, okay. So I love how he's got the big American flag behind him, and he's telling everyone to remember our cause, everybody. Remember what we're doing this for. We've got to make this country right. And this is an odd shot right here. Look at this camera angle here. The way this guy is in front of the Madrid, how he's in the forefront and Charles is in the back. Is that an odd frame shot? It almost looks like he's superimposed in that shot.
You're right. It looks like he's been green screened in there.
It's an odd camera angle. I don't understand it.
It is. Cliff Robertson's the one who's talking here, and why would you take a close-up of this guy?
Madrid.
Yeah.
Now, Madrid's not white.
No, he's not.
I would say he looks like could be from South America, or he's got like black hair. Like I wouldn't call him a Caucasian.
Correct.
Yeah.
There is one woman in attendance here.
Well, she's white.
Yeah, that's true. Their little oath.
I should have gone back a little bit. Here we go. Let's listen to this.
Please stand.
Yeah.
And repeat after me.
Please stand and repeat after me. So now they got to have their sacred blood oath covenant here.
They have to raise their right hand.
I dedicate my body, my brain, and my soul.
Dedicate my body, my brain, and my soul.
To our sacred covenant.
To our sacred covenant.
Even in the face of torture and death.
Even in the face of torture and death.
I will not divulge the intentions or the names of my brothers and sisters.
So, secret covenants, and then there's a scene later, of course, where he's working with the highest end of government officials.
Yeah.
Now we have a scene of Malone and Joe walking a bridge. The brothers, one is a big fat guy, and the other one's the thin guy.
Yes.
The big fat guy, I always love in films when they have I'm not trying to offend fat guys, but when they have big overweight guys, assuming because you're big, you're strong. I never understood the combination of...
True.
So this guy comes out. Let's listen to the catcalls they do on this Joe.
Okay.
They're walking on the bridge, and Malone's now got a protective gesture on Joe, like, oh, I got a bad feeling about this truck full of men. So he's protectively holding Joe.
Hey, Joe, want to have some fun? Going to Brockton.
No thanks.
Matter, honey, don't you love me anymore? Now that's okay. As long as you jerk your with, you'll drop your little panties anytime I tell you to.
Man.
What did he say right before that? Something about...
He says, as long as this jerk that you're with knows you'll drop your panties anytime I tell you to. Right. Referring to Malone as the jerk,
right?
Of course.
He does also say, "Well, you don't love me anymore." Was there a time that Joe and Big Brother Bullard, were a thing or an item? Because how old he must be? At least 30.
No, I would say no. I think this guy's just being a jerk. I don't think there's any history there. He's probably been somebody who's harassed her a lot in the past. I get that impression from him. That actor, Dennis Berkeley, he's been in a lot of stuff from that era. He's probably been in A-Team, Knight Rider, Dukes of Hazzard. He's probably been in everything because I recognize him.
I think his career is dead too right now.
I think you're probably right. I'm looking at him up.
He's another dead actor.
2013 he passed away.
Oh, probably from healthy living, I would assume.
Yeah.
Too many carrots.
What? Too many carrots. Oh, man.
Okay, so I love the way he talks to his voice. Malone's asking, move out of the way so we can walk here. And he's like, can't do that.
You ain't even polite enough to tell me your name.
Malone.
Too late. You already insulted me.
I didn't mean to do that.
If I say you insulted me, you insulted me.
His voice is so weird. Like, thank goodness for the captions.
Yeah. You insulted me.
You insulted me. You insulted You insulted me. Like, what did you say?
Listen to the music swell.
Anybody else?
Okay, so for our dear listeners, Malone just broke him in 5 different places. Okay, let's just say,
yes, he did.
Kicked him in the nuts, broke his arm, smashed his back, smashed his head into the truck. His buddies were like, oh, like most bullies, oh, this guy can take care of himself. I don't really want to.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anybody else?
Anybody else?
He is beaten to a bloody pulp.
He is. And here's they get the hand washing scene where he just, I guess, gets the blood off his hands.
Blood off his knuckles. And Joe asked, did you enjoy it? And he goes, no. And then she goes, but you're so good at it. Oh, boy. I love it. Okay. This is just so much fun to talk about. So now we can assume that Malone has really inserted himself into the crowd. He's beaten up the Bowler brother. So the other Bowler brother is kind of egged on by Madrid, saying, hey, come on, you're not going to let Malone just beat up your brother, are you? They got him drunk, and now he's in a drunken, angry state. They know Malone's at the barbershop, and so this guy's going to come in to shoot Malone. And Malone will turn around when he's at gunpoint by the other uninjured brother, Bullard, the skinnier, smaller version. And this guy, by the way, was in Young Guns 2, by the way, as well.
He was also in 1989's Batman.
That's right. Yeah, he had a good little run there in the 80s. Boy, Batman, Young Guns 2, Malone, he had a good late 80s. So he comes in to shoot Malone, which is, very unsettling to have a guy walk into your place of business with a gun. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And so he points the gun at Malone, and Malone will turn around, and he's going to hold his finger. Well, we don't know yet if it's a finger or not. We don't know. The audience doesn't know officially. The guy holding the gun doesn't know officially. And Madrid's in the background watching the action, hoping that this guy in a drunken state will murder Malone. Because that's, a patsy. He's acting as a patsy, right? If he shoots Malone.
That was my brother you almost killed. You know he can't have children now.
That could be a blessing.
Get your ass out of that chair.
Calvin, please.
Shut up, Andy!
So he's got his back to the gun with a paper over his hand.
Stupid, am I? You want in the back? I swear, I don't much like it that way.
So Calvin, the uninjured brother, goes, I don't want to shoot you in the back. Like, he actually goes, it's not honorable. I don't want to shoot you in the back. So he turns him around. But when he turns him around, Malone now has his hand under the paper. And we're to assume he's basically playing poker. Remember, he plays poker. So is he bluffing or is he not bluffing about having a finger under his paper? And I wonder if anyone who's watched this film made the connection between the scene and his book.
And the book that he's reading.
Yeah. How to bluff.
Yeah. I would say nobody has made that connection. We're the only podcast about Malone, so...
You know what I got underneath this paper?
This could also be some innuendo. What do you got under that newspaper?
How do I know you're not bluffing?
See, bluffing, see?
You don't.
You don't know if I'm bluffing.
You ain't got nothing under there.
Why don't you come and take a look?
Why don't you come and take a look? That's a great, yeah, I love that. It's a great little scene. Come take a look, because if he gets close to him, he can take him out, right? Grab him, or...
Yep.
But he backs away. He does go back outside. He talks to Madrid again, I think. That's why he comes back in. He'll come back in, guns a-blazing, which is weird. He'll come in, he shoots blindly.
Man, that barber is ghoulish looking.
Yeah, he's funny looking. Madrid eggs him on again. I guess he's right. You are just a chicken. And then he turns around and starts shooting at the chair where Malone was, but he's not there anymore. And
yeah,
Malone now has his gun?
Yes. It magically appears. He may have been hiding it somewhere else.
And so he pulls out the gun, says, drop it, and the Calvin's going to turn around, and this gun is very powerful.
Grief.
I laughed out loud when I saw that kill.
It blows his whole back out. Like, it's amazing.
All right, so things are now escalated. Malone is fully in this war. Madrid sees it. We should say that Malone has now been arrested for manslaughter. Charles Delaney kind of now wants to meet the man who's taken out two of his henchmen, right? The brothers. One brother's been killed and the other one's been put in the hospital. So Delaney, kind of wearing this army regalia type outfit, comes and visits Malone in jail.
Yeah, and I think he's more fascinated by what he's heard.
Right, he wants to meet the man.
He's intrigued.
Right.
Yeah.
He's not angry so much as who's the guy that's, it's almost fun for him because all the other townsmen are either taking his money and leaving town or maybe pulling a Herschel, not, waiting for a better offer. But this guy's actually taking out his henchmen. And he wants to meet the man.
Yeah.
So he goes, may I sit down?
Sure.
Thank you. Well, Richard. Do you mind if I call you Richard?
Go right ahead.
Good. This valley is so far away. I was just wondering what brought
Your first name is?
Charles. Just wonder what brought you here.
My car.
My car.
Broke down.
Really? What really brought you here, Richard?
I came here.
To kill me. Right?
Are you so important?
No. No, I'm not. You might say I'm in the survivor business. I encourage people to fight for their rights like our forefathers. There are some who might be threatened by that, might want me to stop, might try to stop me.
And those people would be against truth and justice and the American way.
I think so, yes.
So this is actually kind of interesting because we have a guy here who truly doesn't believe that his car did break down. Like we said, if his car didn't break down, America would eventually be taken over. So thank goodness his car broke down.
And it's interesting that Cliff Robertson, Delaney, he must know something about Malone because he's getting that, you came here to assassinate me. Because he goes, did you come here to kill me?
Right. I think he's just paranoid.
Well, okay.
I think what's happened is just as Burt is saying, my car broke down, and it just so happened it broke down in the town that's going to take over America. Yeah. And he can't believe those odds. And he's right. These are Malone odds.
Yeah.
Okay. I just noticed on the movie poster, I guess if you did see this movie in 1987 and saw the movie poster or rented on VHS, the tagline is ex-cop, ex-CIA, explosive.
Well, that tells you all you need to know right there.
But apparently he's an ex-cop. Did they ever mention that in the film?
No. The only thing that's brought up is his military record. Yeah.
We've just learned more about the Malone universe. He was an ex-cop as well.
Wow. Wonder if that was before he went into the service, because he was in the service for over 10 years.
Yeah, I'm a little confused about the time. I'd have to go back and look at that computer printout timeline. But okay, so for our dear listeners, Malone was in jail. Delaney comes in, introduces themselves. They have their little philosophical discussion. I highly recommend just watching the film and seeing that discussion. Delaney, though, tells the sheriff to let Malone go. Let him go. Get him out of jail. We don't want him in jail. The reason being is because I want to order a hit on him. So I don't want him to go through the justice system, reveal our plans or whatever. So just let him out of jail. And then he tells Madrid, okay, send some more goons after this guy and kill him, please. That's where we are now in the film. And then we cut to a scene later that night. So Malone's back at the house, back at the service station. And we see a scene of Joe.
Eric.
Beautiful. She's doing her hair, brushing her hair, doing her nighttime routine, right? There's a sequence here, Jared. I'll have to describe it for our listeners. Again, I watched this. Please watch our podcast episode on YouTube. I'll put the link in the show notes. Because you're about to see Joe lightly touch her cleavage. Am I okay? Okay.
You're 100% correct.
Okay, so let's listen to the music flourish as well. So she's brushing her hair. She's looking at herself in the mirror. You know, you look great. She's brushing her hair. And then she lightly touches, okay, right there. Right? Like, what is she thinking here? Whoa! I mean, it is a low-cut shirt, Hermione. I agree.
Yes.
She goes out into the hallway.
She's like, yeah. It's time to pay Mr. Malone a visit.
The way she touched herself, is there any other indication of what she's thinking? Are we led to believe anything else other than what we're... Knocks on Malone's door. It's open. She comes in. And I kid you not, I thought, are we going to have coitus?
Yeah. I know. When I saw this too, I was like, this is very strange. It's a very strange scene. But, I mean, no, of course, I think that's exactly what they want you to think.
Yeah, so let's listen to this conversation. So she comes in all kind of shy-like. Yeah, and Malone's there to greet her. Hi, she says, okay.
Hey, how's it going?
She closes the door. She's not wearing a bra.
No, she's in her nightgown.
You don't have to worry about my dad and me. Because we're tough.
I don't think you're so tough.
She moves closer to him. Look at that. Like, whoa. Let's kiss right now. Let's kiss. He smiles, but he gives her like a... kind of like a...
I used to be scared of
Yeah, this is it's sort of like a fatherly hug.
That was an embrace, you know. I used to be scared of you, she says. But then the way she holds her shoulder, it's like, yeah. Would you hug your daughter this way?
Well, no. But it's, I don't know.
But of course, you don't have the romantic musical flourish happen in your background of your life.
Exactly. I get the impression, you know, he absolutely understands what's going on here. I don't think he has any intention.
No, I think if we're going to talk about the rocky intentions, I think honestly Malone's character, he gives her the fathering, almost allows her to feel that, not the wanting, but like, I know you have a crush on me, I'm an older gentleman type thing, I'm 48 in the film, you're 17 in the film, I get it, I'm a handsome man, the mustache, the hair, the chest hair, like it's hard to resist, I understand, old 17-year-old girls like this. She is 17, I can't stress that enough. He is 48.
Yes. Yes.
So he allows the embrace.
What about now?
What about now? Are you scared of me now?
It's different now.
It's different now, she says. What? How is it different?
Because I think you like me.
Because I think you like me, she says.
Yeah.
Look at okay.
Oh, no, okay.
I do like you, he says. And he holds her head with both his hands. Like he's about to kiss, but he's like, no, I better not.
I think you better go back to your room.
See right there? He
You can see
he was torn. There was a part of him that was torn. Hey, look, he's a warm-blooded male. Look, I'm not passing judgment here. You got a young, attractive girl in your room. You're alone. She's coming on to you. Look, this is a real gut check, ladies and gentlemen.
There was some pretty good acting from him right there in that moment, because when he grabs the face, he looks at her mouth like 2 or 3 times, and then he's like, okay, we better cool it.
You better go.
I wish you weren't going.
I wish you weren't going.
I wish a lot of things.
Yeah, I wish a lot of things. I wish there wasn't any laws against me sleeping with minors.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, how far away are you from 18?
What's the state line rules here? Can we get your dad's consent? Maybe we can get consent on this. I'm not sure. Oh, this is fantastic.
Oh, man.
The music is the cue. Like, that's the score. Now, not to get extra creepy, I did do a little bit of homework. I'm sorry, and this, we've all done this with celebrity crushes. Okay, so Cynthia Gibbs. Now, keep in mind she's 23 in this film. The actress, her character is 17. But the year previous to this film, she was in a movie called Young Blood with Patrick Swayze. It's a film I haven't seen yet. She's in it as well. It's an action film that I think is worth viewing. I think it's a hockey film too. She has a nude scene in that film. So I'm just going to leave it at that. If researchers of this movie want to see a young Cynthia Gibb, who's legal, don't get me, she's illegal in this film, but she's a legal actress in Young Blood the year previous. She does have a, I'm just saying, it's there for you to see. I would never look, of course. I just researched that and found out. That's all. I'm just saying.
You know what? Now that you mentioned it, I think that I've seen that movie.
Oh, then you saw her naked. You didn't even realize it.
Yes.
You want to retcon it and pretend she's 16 and...
Oh, man. Listen, don't you turn me into Burt Reynolds. I'm not doing that.
I would tell Burt Reynolds, hey, Burt, you want to see this? You want to see her naked? Well, just go rent Youngblood at your local convenience store in this town.
Because poor Burt's probably looking for a release about now.
He puts in Youngblood.
Yeah, he does. He's walking back to the bed with a giant bulge in his pants.
I love how the movie's called Young Blood as well. Oh, man. I wonder what age she is in that film. I prefer the character, that is. Okay. Enough of this. Okay, we got to hurry up along here. I apologize. So, crap's about to go down.
Yes.
There's a sequence here, which is a really good sequence. The two henchmen are now at the gas station to kill Malone. So, so Joe is servicing the car. The henchmen are like, okay, where is he? They literally strong arm her, and they squeeze her hand, about to break her hand, and she's just a young girl. She's going to give it up. He's in the house. That's where he is, in the house. She does actually, I think, tell the truth, doesn't she? Where he is.
I'm not sure because the second time I watched it, because they coerced it out of her.
They did.
Like he's squeezing her arm and causing her a lot of pain, but I don't know if she's giving him accurate directions to where Malone is. I would be surprised if she was.
But I feel bad for her. She's crying. She's in pain, both physical and emotional. Because, for all she knows, Malone, her lover, in her mind, is about to be killed. So I love how the guy is walking across, the henchman is walking across the parking lot with his gun hiding under his trench coat. Who's going to yell gun? There's nobody there. And let alone, I think the gunshots that are about to go off might also reveal that you have a gun.
Absolutely.
The kill scenes on this are great. And more backside blood, just the over-the-top kill sequences.
Yes.
Good old silencers on the guns. I love the 80s when they were really big on the silencers.
Everybody had the silencer.
And it Uzis. It was Uzis and silencers.
Uzis.
And then silencers with Uzis. So I guess to be fair, they are trying to be covert killing. Sorry, they did have silencers. She yells out Malone. He knows to somehow duck. He grabs his shotgun and just blows out his backside. Just blows it out. Great shot. Great stunt work. And now I love how Malone jumps through the window.
It looks like his toupee is a little askew there as well.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Oh yeah, he gets shot.
I admit, when he got shot in the side, I thought that was legit. Oh, wow. So the one henchman gets away right now.
Yep.
But of course...
Oh, man. We got the gas tank. Oh...
Love it. So Malone, so the guy drives away in his car, is spilling gas. Malone, near death, is still able to shoot off a shotgun and make the car explode. Did cars have TNT in them back in the day?
I believe so. Okay. Yes.
So now Malone's all battered up, and the sheriff's there, of course, again. And it's like, well, we got to take this guy to the hospital. But now we truly know how corrupt the police force is, because the deputy that's assigned to take Malone to the hospital doesn't take him to the hospital. Instead, he takes him for, speaking of Dukes of Hazzard, he takes him for a Dukes of Hazzard ride throughout the forest, banging him around Malone in the back of the car. Did you like that sequence?
Yes. They just keep driving over these gravel roads. It's pretty funny.
It is quite
Malone's
humorous.
Like, what the heck is going on here?
He's like, I know a shortcut to the hospital. And he's just like, yeehaw! And he's like he's banging Malone around. And it's great little stunt work here. Then I love some of the camera work of the car. It's sped up. When the film speeds up to make it look like it's going faster. It never looks right when they do that. I don't know why.
No. It doesn't ever look legit.
Like right here. Look at that. Look how fast they're going.
Dude, he's wrecking his car doing this too.
It's but what I don't understand is, so the sheriff is beating Malone to a pulp, I guess to eventually kill him. You think the deputy would just literally pull out his handgun and just shoot him in the back seat? Wouldn't that be easy? Wouldn't that just be easier? And then dump his body in the forest?
I think what they were, maybe they were trying to just make him die of his wounds.
Kill him by just throttle him in the back. Like, no, I know, you're right. But there's no way he's just going to die. Like, I guess his neck breaks.
Yeah.
But either way, it would be a lot easier because at the beginning of the car ride, Malone didn't know he was in any trouble. So the sheriff deputy could be like, whoa, sorry you got shot. What a crazy town this is. And then he just turns around and shoots him.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we forgot to mention that Lauren Hunton, Agent Jamie, she's about to come back. She's been assigned by the CIA to bring Malone back.
Actually, no.
Oh.
She was told to just
kill him?
Finish him off. Her director guy gave her the poison that's tasteless and painless, and it'll kill him within 15 seconds, and it's totally untraceable.
I forgot about that. That's right.
Remember, there is no retiring from the CIA.
I forgot. You die in the CIA or you're killed by the CIA. My apologies. That is actually on Wikipedia. I forgot about that. You can Google that. There is no retirement plan. That's right. So Malone's handler, Jamie, was sent by her superiors to assassinate Malone by poisoning him. That's right.
Yeah. That's the retirement party for the CIA.
But she finds Malone, and not only does she not kill him, they have coitus. They rekindle the romance. I mean, you can't... Look, it's Burt Reynolds. You're not killing Burt.
No. You have to get him in bed with somebody.
She breaks him out of the hospital. She doesn't kill him. She tells her CIA operatives, I can't find him. He's not here. He's already taken off. She's later killed, not by the CIA, but by, of course, Delaney and his henchmen.
Delaney's.
Yeah. The Delaney's kill her.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
we got the goodbye scene here.
Is this the goodbye scene here? Is that what it is?
Well...
Yeah, it is.
No.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, Malone has been healed over time, has passed. He's been healed now from the gunshot wound. His handler, played by Hunton, has hid him from the CIA. She's with herself by herself at the bed and breakfast they were staying at. She's about to be killed. She does get killed by Delaney's crew looking for Malone because she doesn't reveal where he is. Malone's unaware of that right now. He's saying goodbye to the family. So now he's saying, okay, I got to go. It's getting dangerous here. Me being here is going to cause more damage for the town or what have you. He's saying goodbye to the dad. And, of course, now he's saying goodbye to 17-year-old, may I say again, Joe. So the dad and Malone hug. They've formed a friendship.
You always have a place here.
As a future son-in-law, maybe?
I know.
Oh, man.
Take care of yourself. You too.
But keep in mind, he's older than the father.
Goodbye.
Yes.
Now he says goodbye to Joe, and he kisses her, like
plants one on the mouth.
Yeah, it just right at the corner of the mouth, and she kisses him back. He turns and walks. It's too painful to say goodbye, but Joe has more to say.
Malone? I've been thinking, and in 5 years I'll be older.
So will I.
Oh, man.
Okay, wait, okay. She goes, I've been thinking. So she's been doing the math. Okay. In 5 years, well, I don't know why 5 years. Why doesn't she just say in 1 year I'll be legal? Like, why wait till 22?
Yeah, that's a good question. Did he say specifically he's going away for 5 years?
I don't know. It's an arbitrary number she picked. So she says in 5 years I'll be older. Of course, his classic line, so will I. So he'll be 53 in this film universe. He'll be 53 in 5 years. She'll be 22. Then they'll be good to go for marriage and dating.
Yes, I guess.
Now, after that little revelation, so she's basically saying, I want you to screw me when I'm older.
Yeah, I think that's what we can take away from this scene.
So now 48-year-old Malone and 17-year-old Joe, they're about to do something here. Watch.
Oh, no. Okay.
He plants a real kiss on her, and then he gives a little look to the dad. You cool with that?
Yeah, he's like, hey, yeah. Yeah, she tasted my mustache just now. What do you think about that?
What I love is the dad watches. So the dad is either completely complicit with this or just I don't understand what's happening here. Your daughter, who's 17, who is a minor, was just kissed by a 50-year-old man in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess he really likes Malone. He gave him that hug, you know. He's like, come back soon, son. We'll see you soon.
I'm younger than you, son, but you're going to be my son-in-law one day. Oh, man. Well, what's left in the film here? I mean, that's the highlight of the film.
He's got the Home Alone tricks in the barn.
Right.
Yeah, he's got his traps and stuff. They kill Lauren Hutton. He finds her in the bathtub with a plastic bag over her head.
Great sequence there.
It's kind of grisly looking.
It is grisly. She still has her mouth agape. He closes her eyes. You know, as one does.
It looks... Yeah. It looks like he was going to plant one on her open mouth.
If he's a pedophile, he might be a necrophiliac as well.
Oh, jeez. Poor Malone. No respect.
What I like is Malone was going to leave, I guess. I guess he had no intention of really saving the town in general. Because he was going to leave, but it just so happened, like, okay, now my other lover is dead. Now it's just a revenge film. And his revenge about killing Delaney and the gang just so happens to save the town. It was just a byproduct that he wasn't saving the town. He was actually just avenging the death of his lover.
Correct. Oh, man, the car's all fixed. He's going straight up Smokey and the Bandit in there.
Combination of Smokey and the Bandit meets Commando and Home Alone.
That's true.
Before Home Alone, mind you.
Oh, yeah. A couple of years before.
So I think Home Alone ripped off. We talked about our other time together, how many films ripped off. I think Home Alone ripped off this film, let's be honest. Yeah, the cars crashed through, and now I guess he wants to run the rest of the distance. I don't know why he didn't just keep driving to where he needed to be, but now I guess it looks better for him to run. Because they already know he's here. So the gang's getting ready to fight Malone. I love how Charles Delaney's, he's like, I expected nothing less. I knew we were going to fight Malone. Now we got Malone running on rooftops, jumping over fences, and I dare say that's probably not Burt Reynolds doing that.
No, it is not.
So Malone takes out the wires. The satellite systems are out. There's no communication.
We've got the Uzi.
Right, Harry, circle around that hill. Come up around behind him on the other side of the farm.
Yes, sir.
Telephone wires have been cut.
I would have been disappointed at anything less, all right? The arena has been contained, and the playing field defined.
So he says the arena's been contained, and the playing field's been contained, the arena defined, or whatever. So the idea is like no communications anywhere. The fight's just us now. I love that idea.
Yes.
Yeah. This is it. I expected nothing less. He really does get a kick. Charles Delaney kind of gets a kick out of this guy.
Yeah, he's like, let's do this. Well, he doesn't have too many traps, but there are a few clever kills that he has.
Well, he leads a guy, and this is actually kind of a cool stunt. I'd always wonder how they do these stunt work. So this guy goes to like a little shed at the house, and Malone throws, was it a grenade into the shed?
Yeah.
The grenades have timers, don't they? Like a certain amount of time passes before they blow up?
I'm no expert.
Like, I don't think this grenade is triggered by motion of a door opening. So I don't know how Malone knew by throwing the grenade in the window that the baddie who opens the door would be... So he opens the door, and the grenade goes off at the perfect time.
Yeah.
That's a great little sequence there of the grenade blowing up and the stuntman being thrown out of the shed.
You can see the camera cuts.
So that guy's lucky there. All he did was get knocked out. So he'll actually live to fight another day. But this guy will not live to fight another day. So he goes to the barn. He won't. So Malone jumps out of the window, throws in the grenade. Watch the camera edit here. You can watch. So he goes in and watch the camera edit jump. Yeah. Yeah.
Boom.
So he gets thrown out. He dead. Horses are going crazy because of the explosions. So there's chaos ensues, but Malone can operate in the chaos. He's able to operate in the chaos.
He don't care about the horses. They just said, I don't give a damn about the horses.
Now, if my daughter watched this film, she'd be very upset about that. She's a horse girl.
Oh, okay. And there's a cat.
Now, I love the sequence here of Malone takes out Madrid with the plastic bag. You know the meaning of that, of course, right? That's how Madrid killed
his woman.
His woman was with a plastic bag. So I guess Malone had a plastic bag on him ready to go for this kill in particular, or
maybe he used the one they used on Lauren Hutton. That would be
Oh, it's the same bag. Watch how he puts the bag over. You can see how the actor makes it work for him. See? There you go. You know how the bag wasn't quite on the actor's face? He wiggles into it.
Yeah, he moved his head.
He goes, let me help you out, Bert. Let me help you get that bag around my face. Oh, here comes...
Oh, look at this.
big bale of hay. Of course, a big bale of hay was on a string, a rope, and it knocks the guy out of the barn. He dead. Now he dead on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah. It knocks him off out of the loft there. He fell about 30 feet probably.
This is the guy that killed the Reverend.
He's got the 80s bad guy acne scars.
I love the casting callback that we need a bad guy. We prefer people that had bad acne when they were teenagers, please. Apply to the role.
Many people with acne scars. That equates to evil.
We call that, the pockmark? Is that what we refer to?
Something like that.
Yeah. So he's got an Uzi. We don't see enough Uzis in action movies anymore, do we?
No. They're pretty much non-existent.
I think the idea was in these films is it's like a mini machine gun. The idea that it fires off so many rounds. It was so cool. And it's always usually the bad guy that had the Uzi. Very rarely did the good guy have an Uzi.
That's true.
Is it because of its German connection, do you think? Or why that might be?
I don't know. Uzi 9mm. I always think of that, Arnold from Terminator. Yeah, he's at the gun shop.
Right, of course.
Uh-oh. Man, this is a pretty big barn they're in.
Yeah, this is a great property. Okay, so Malone comes with a haystack.
Oh, this guy, he falls.
He falls for it's the wrong dead person. Why did you just shoot him in the back of the head right now?
I don't know. I think he wants the satisfaction.
Now, it's interesting. This guy says, the bad guy says, you're good. You're very good. Why did he become, all of a sudden, the main bad guy in a weird way?
Yeah, it seems like this should have been like Cliff Robertson in this scene.
Right.
Yeah, who is this guy?
Well, he's the Black Reverend killer.
Shall he be forever known?
What can you do, shoot me? Now
Like this?
Oh, he's got the trick.
A man like you? I don't think so.
So he's saying, you're not going to shoot me just like that. I'm unarmed. He flicks down on his wrist a hidden gun under his suit jacket.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Whoops.
Now, that's a good little stunt there. The stuntman, that's a real stunt body. So the guy who threw himself backwards fell through a hole. Now, I know it was a slide that went down, but he bonks his head going, it was a backwards fall through a wooden hat. It probably hurt.
I know. I mean, look how his back hits that thing. I mean, he's folded himself in half.
Ugh. I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
But, stuntmen do get hurt, mind you, so.
Oh, yeah.
Wrong. Did Arnie do that as well, one of his movies? Wrong.
Yes.
Which one was that again? Was that Terminator as well?
No, he goes, hey, buddy, you can't do that. And he says, wrong, at the gun shop.
That's right. Wrong. That's right. That's right. He just did it there, so we just got Burt. Again, Terminator ripped off this movie, let's be honest. Even though it came out before, I don't want to hear it. Don't send us any emails. So Terminator ripped off this film, Home Alone ripped off this film, and Commando ripped off this film. Let's be honest, right?
That's it.
So now we got the final boss, Charles Delaney. He's alone. Is he trying to get away from Malone or look for Malone, or a bit of both?
He just seems to be running kind of aimlessly. He's just looking around like, oh, man.
What have I got myself into? I think he's looking for a pock-faced guy. He goes, Johnny, where are you, John? Johnny?
Yeah. He finds him laying in a manger, of all things.
Wrapped in swaddling clothes.
Yes.
Yeah, there he is in some sort of hay getup. He's all like pitchforked up or whatever.
Oh, Johnny.
That's right. So he goes into... this barn houses, I guess, the big computer headquarters of the country takeover. What are all these conglomerate of computers going to do in assisting the takeover of the U.S. as white nationalists? What is your understanding here?
Well, obviously it's they need to be in a barn.
Right.
It's a kind of their secret headquarters here.
What's the power grid like here to plug all these in?
Oh, look at this.
Yeah, so we should say right now. So, of course, Malone's in this computer room. They're talking to each other. They don't know where they are. But I love how Malone comes into the light, says, I'm here. And then he goes back into the dark, It's very covert. Using his assassination skills here and what have you to be hidden from the bad guy, Charles, at the end.
It's our future, Richard.
It's our future, Richard. This is Charles talking. Talking about the computers and the get-up and maybe even trying to recruit Malone at the end here. This is our control center, he says.
You'd be surprised how far we've gone. You'd be surprised.
Well, I would be surprised because I don't know what's happened here. Any information you tell me what these computers will do is going to be very surprising because I actually have no idea.
Exactly. And, of course, this is the big monologue.
Yeah, we've got senators, congressmen. We got, the network of people in the country. We have all the top leaders. Everyone, we got everyone ready to go here. So he's saying that the valley is just the beginning. It's like Genesis, we're growing. And then he starts to show some computer data here. So he shows that there's a community of people like us scattered throughout the U.S. So these compounds are now existing throughout the U.S. We're the guardians of the future. So there's white national cells throughout the U.S. Tell me something I don't know. But I love that some of the dialogue is kind of funny how... listen to this dialogue here, because funny enough, it kind of echoes a lot of Twitter right now. I'm not going to lie to you. Just listen.
Fighting for its life, and we are the warriors.
The country's fighting for life, and we're the warriors.
We are the guardians of the future.
This echoes a lot of Twitter talk. I'm not going to lie to you.
Anyone or anything deflect us from our purpose. You know the real world. We can't be weighed down by sentiment. The Barlows of the world are part of the problem. They're mindless sheep. Get in our way. We of pure race must get rid of the traitors within the country. We must deal with the traitors. We need you, Richard.
He's trying to recruit Malone.
Malone he's concealed.
He's concealed. He's hiding behind a hard drive somewhere.
So he's just let Delaney just talk this whole time.
Maybe there's a part of Malone that agrees with it. I don't know.
It's like, wait a second, you've almost convinced me.
And so in this future, can I sleep with 17-year-olds?
No, I was going to say, Delaney should have said, Richard, we are going to abolish all the minor laws in my new world order.
So Malone shoots Delaney. We don't really see the actual shot of death. We just see the gun go off, but we assume, yes, Delaney's been killed. Malone walks out holding the gun. The sheriff has now come up. He throws the gun into the grass, whatever. Walks up to the sheriff. Let's listen to the conversation between the sheriff and Malone here. It's kind of like jovial music, light music.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk to you.
I'd like to talk to you.
I'd like to talk to you.
Now, let me repeat the tagline of the poster: ex-cop, ex-CIA, explosive. Now, we got our big explosion here.
We finally got the explosive.
So the headquarters has been exploded by Malone. Was there C4 plant? Like, how was that explosion done? Do we know how this was facilitated? How did Malone put this together? Was that shown? Or
no, not at all. And he seems very casual as he's strolling out with his turtleneck on. He's just like, okay, I'm walking out of this barn, and it's going to blow up in 15 seconds. It's a huge explosion.
I guess you could argue white nationalists maybe just carry C4 on them. Everywhere they're headquartered, they have a supply. Because they are a terrorist organization, so you could assume Malone probably went to their stash of C4, put it around the barn. So I guess between the killing of Charles, he then rigged the house to explode. It just so happened that it was going to explode when the sheriff... Well, good timing on his part that the sheriff was going to be there to see it, too.
Well, you got to think, it probably took him a good, at least an hour and a half, 2 hours to set all that stuff up. And then, he's like, the cop's going to be here in 2 hours.
I'm no expert. I don't know how long it takes to rig a house explosion, but it could at least take 2 hours.
Yeah. Malone timed this very well.
It's amazing. It goes off. He does take a look at it. He's not really, he's not really affected by the explosion, because cool guys aren't affected by explosions. They just keep walking.
There is a shot. You can't really see his face, but do you think that's Burt Reynolds when the initial explosion goes off?
Let's go back.
It looks like it could be him.
I think it might be him with his back to the explosion. Let's watch. Keep in mind, there's no green screens or anything back then, so let's see.
Yeah.
Malone, I want to talk to you. I'd like to talk to you.
I like to talk to you. I like that turtleneck you got on.
I like what you're wearing. It's all black. It's very, very apropos. You're the man in black. Here we go.
He's like, okay.
It's about to go now. Should go any minute. I should turn my back when it does go. Yeah, that's his silhouette there. But it's tough to say. might be it. Yeah, I think it's a real explosion.
That was him.
I think there's two different explosions going on. I think they're doing the barn explosion goes off, and then there's another explosion they rig behind.
Yeah, they're like smaller.
It's smaller, yeah, exactly. It's two different cuts there, yeah. Okay, let's listen to this. Now, the sheriff has every right to be a little bit scared here as he backs away from Malone, gets to his car for safety. I like that.
Oh, no, he pulls out the finger gun.
Pulls out the finger job. Just the cop
what's the heck?
Shot. Look at that.
And then we got the shot of Burt walking away from the explosion.
And then he burns his Virginia ID. That's your official ID for Virginia. That's your CIA ID there. Yeah.
That's it.
That's the credits roll.
Oh, man. Malone.
It's tough to say which film is better. I don't like the rate films between Heat. Two different type of films, but Heat and Malone was kind of like, you know how Sly had his Rambo Part 2 and Rocky 4 were the same year, right?
Yes.
That's like peak Sly. This was peak Burt. Having Heat and Malone, that was your... You don't get better than that for Burt. Come on.
Well, I don't know if I'd say that. This may be peak Burt on the downward slope of his career.
This is peak just before, I don't know, parody Burt.
Yeah, you're probably right, because I don't know how many movies that came after this where he was still playing this type of role.
We might have to. I think for our next Burt movie, we might have to go back in time. I'm not ready to investigate parody Burt yet.
No, I think I'm definitely interested in this type of character that Burt is doing, because I think we could make an argument that the characters that he plays in these films, they're all the same guy. These are just movies in a series.
He did some earlier roles that he wasn't quite the star. I wouldn't mind maybe going back in time on our next one. I think, speaking of CIA, I think our next film should be Operation CIA.
Is that Burt?
It stars Burt Reynolds, and I think it's his first starring role. It came out in 1965.
Okay, so look, that is the Malone origin story.
Oh, perfect, yeah.
We've just seen Malone as an aging CIA operative.
I don't want to get too far ahead into our Operation CIA discussion, but just looking at the movie poster, this movie came out almost, how many years? 65 to 87 is 22 years, right?
Yeah.
Funny enough, his hairline is shorter in 65 than it is in 87. That's kind of weird.
Well, that's because it's the last of what remains of his real hair.
Okay. I thought maybe his hair grew more as years went on. My apologies. Okay.
No, quite the opposite. It all fell out.
All right, well, we'll talk offline, but we may investigate Operation CIA. It's a spy film, so there you go.
I think we have to. We've come this far. We got to continue our journey with Burt.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us and on the last of the Action Heroes podcast. And now, keep in mind, this won't be out for a few months. I'd only do like one episode a month with this podcast. So look into the future. What can we expect from the Hyperspace podcast in September-ish?
Oh, September-ish. By the time you listen to this, we'll have already started our, I guess it's going to be our 6th season. I'm not sure what we'll be talking about, but it's going to be something fun from the 25th century. So come on over and check us out after you listen to us talk about Burt.
I didn't mean to do this to you, Jared. Are we like creating our own Burt podcast behind the Last of the Action Heroes podcast? I mean,
listen, I don't know how many you have to record to become a Burt Reynolds podcast, but by God, I think we're on our way, man. We're going to have, by the time we hit, sometime next year, we'll have done half his filmography. So
I don't want to step on any other Burt podcasts, so I got to be careful here. I don't want to infringe on what they've done so well compared to us. So,
of course, yeah.
Right.
But if that's our destiny, then so be it.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next the next Last of the Action Heroes podcast show.